Eccoci qui, salve a tutti, ben trovati e mi trovate di nuovo in compagnia per questa nostra nuova live. Questa sera in compagnia, ecco, sto controllando come sempre sul canale che funzioni tutto, poi voi datemi ovviamente feedback anche con i commenti. Abbiamo intanto sotto di me il Cap Fabio, il mitico Fabio il Cap Games.
Buonasera a tutti.
E questa sera mi aiuterà nella intervista che avremo con Vukasin Nisavic. Hi Vukasin, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Vukasin Nisavic that is the author and one of the publisher of Princeps Games, è uno appunto degli editori, dei proprietari di Princeps Games, gli autori di Freezing Inferno e Battles of Khalkhin-Gol, che è adesso giù in Kickstarter. È un Kickstarter che sta andando, trovate il link sotto in descrizione nella descrizione di questo video, di questa chat. Abbiamo voluto un po' incontrare Vukasin per chiedergli un po' di cose su questa realtà Princeps Games, su questi giochi molto belli che ha fatto, perché a me Fabio Freezing Inferno è piaciuto veramente tanto.
Grandissimo gioco.
Infatti, e anche adesso Battles of Khalkhin-Gol, avete già visto anche la preview sul mio canale, e quindi adesso incontriamo, ma anche per chiedergli un po' qualcosa di questa realtà wargamistica della Serbia, che effettivamente è molto molto vicina a noi, perché è giusto dall'altra parte dell'Adriatico, ma è anche quasi sconosciuta, insomma almeno poco conosciuta qui in Italia. L'intervista procederà in inglese, quindi ovviamente se poi voi avete delle domande, nessun problema, fatele nella chat e io ovviamente
anche in italiano poi traduciamo noi, insomma.
Appunto in italiano tranquillamente, poi lo traduciamo in inglese e vi ritraduciamo le risposte di Vukasin. Ora cominciamo con la nostra intervista. Ok, Vukasin, here we are. Sorry about the Italian selection.
No problem. I enjoyed listening.
Yeah. I have to admit that I'm not as fluent in Serbian, so this interview will go on in English. But also for those who will watch later this interview, this live chat that will stay available on the channel. We were saying that we were very interested. We were both Fabio and I that tried Freezing Inferno, and then I had also, and thank you once again for the opportunity of trying in preview the Battles of Khalkhin-Gol, the Kickstarter, and people will find the link to the Kickstarter campaign down here in the description of this video. And but also we want to know something more about Princeps Games, and also about the wargaming community in Serbia, because especially here in Italy, we are so close. We are just the Adriatic between us, so a very short distance actually. But it looks so far, we don't know much about wargaming in Serbia, and there are lots of people that are very, very interested. But let's start with Princeps Games. Can you give us a short introduction to what Princeps Games is, when it was created, and also some of your past productions?
Yes. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me for this interview, and I'd like to say hello to all of your viewers, and I hope they will enjoy this video. As far as for the Princeps Games, we were founded in 2019. We started with our first game, March of the Drina, which was initially released only for a Serbian market. And after a success here, we decided to try a Kickstarter campaign and offer the game for a worldwide audience. And in 2020, we completed our first campaign. And after that, we had good connections in the United States, also in Europe, Australia, and Japan. So we decided to continue working on our games, and that leads one thing leads to another. So after our first game, we launched Freezing Inferno, which was our second game. It was very well received among the board game community, and since it was delivered in summer this year, so people are still playing and waiting to play it. We hope to get detailed feedback from all the players in next few months. So we are satisfied for now, and that gives us strength to continue working. And right now, as you said, the Battle of Khalkhin-Gol, the conflict between the USSR and Japan, is on Kickstarter right now. It has 7 or 8 days left. So we are happy that the game was also well received, and we got feedback from your reviewers that mechanics are working good, that quality of the component is okay. So basically, this is what Princeps Games do. We make a war game that are easy to play and that people can use as an introduction to war game world. You mentioned the war game community in Serbia, and I can tell you that it's pretty much the same situation with you in Italy as we talked earlier, because not many people are ready to play war games because they're just didn't have the opportunity to check some easy war game or light war game. So that is why we decided to offer this type of war games in the market. That doesn't mean that we are not preparing something more serious, which we are, and we'll talk about it.
Freezing Inferno, I have to say, Fabio, you will agree with me.
It's very serious. It's very serious.
It looks fun and light, and you're just throwing someone around in Santa Claus land, and then the Soviet Air Force arrives.
Or the Motti arrives.
Using that, using the air units in the way we decided to use them in Freezing Inferno was, I think, the most innovative part of the games, because as you said, you think you're just moving pieces around, and you just realize, oh, I don't have my air support, and I went too far. I didn't get the airfield under my control. Now I can
happens to Ricardo during the game. There was like the gaps where he cannot
here you are, and here come my bombers that did not get there because they do not have the range, and all my fights. Oh, now I see why I needed that bloody airfield. Because usually in war games you just have, okay, if you get this effort, you get 4 victory points, and that's it. No, in Freezing Inferno, what we really like was that you understood why you had to conquer that airfield, because without that airfield you would not have the possibility of getting your planes in range. Fabio, some of your impressions as well on Freezing Inferno that you want to speak with Vukasin.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic game. I like most of the aspect, I will say. Also, the fact that you can play the game like a base playing game, let's say, and then you have all the advanced rules that allows you to research all the tactics that there were back then, the Molotov, the Motti tactics. They were very important. I really love all the artillery barrage that you can set up. But I think that one thing that is very interesting is that you have an open setup of the game with that you can put on a piece of paper. And I think that is very interesting to organize maybe a defense, more in deep. For example, we were talking about the airfield before, and it's very realistic because it's given away some of your land for an initial assault, because then you're going to create a gap where, okay, my artillery are going to fire here because open ground, like Ladoga. A lot of
Yes.
Soviets were destroyed there because, well, it's just a frozen lake and artillery was pointing them. So no way to defend so far. You can just defend deep with all the forests, and you know that the Soviets has to pass there. You can just plan accordingly. So it's very good to just see how you can play like military general were doing back then, because you don't know enemy position, but you know your land and where they should go.
Yes.
So that was allows you to make a lot of different tactics. That is very fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
What? Yeah, Vukasin, go on.
Well, I just wanted to refer to the setup. This is
Yeah.
what we used in our first game, March on the Drina, and uh, usually I love to play Axis and Allies, and
Mhm.
those games were very meaningful to me because even though they're beautiful, they have like the depth that I was then looking for. And but the one thing that was bothering me is that the setup was always the same. So after a few games, you just know which units can go where to make the greatest impact and the best result. So this is why we decided to offer this like hidden setup, and every game can be different. It really depends. If you just move two pieces, set up it differently, it will give you the whole other game. So
Yeah.
that's the point.
Uh, Actually, the blind setup was both a refreshing choice and I dare to say a brave choice for a designer, because we do not see them often in work. This is something that dates really back to the age of, I would say, also to miniature wargaming, where you will set up your miniatures with a screen in the middle of the table so that
Yeah,
you will not
you
know
won't
what the
see.
opponent, and this creates a very interesting, very nice interaction between the players, because as Fabio said, the Finnish player can say, okay, I am creating a kill zone in this area because I expected the Soviets to go there, but the Finnish player does not know the setup of the Soviets. So
Yeah.
the Soviets could have used a totally different setups and essentially ignoring that zone, at least for the first time. So the two setups could be totally wrong. Both of them could be totally wrong.
Mhm.
But this is also realistic and gives also a very replayability to the
Yes.
game. One thing that I like, and I would like to speak more, is about the solo module, because you have possible
Yes.
different setups there, and also a priority list. Did you find any particular difficulty in creating the solo module for Freezing Inferno?
Well, I have to say that solo mode was created by Daniel de Jong from the
Okay.
Netherlands. I'm not a solo war game player, so
Mm-hmm.
I only
Mm-hmm.
play with the opponent. That is why he was on our team, and the whole solo mode and the whole solo setup was his work. So I believe he did a good job because we had feedback from a lot of players who played solo, and
Mm-hmm.
saying that it works very fine, very well. So. That is all I can say about solo setup because I don't play solo games.
Yeah, I will say that, Fabio. We just looked at that ceremony
Yeah.
with both of us said, okay, this is very easy to manage, because one of the problems with solo modules is that you have to think, I will say, not only for you and for your bot opponent, but two and a half, because you have also to manage a lot of complicated
Yeah. Or the
so
diagrams, like all if else solution, like
yeah, or the cards, or somewhere stuff,
yeah.
also tampering with the balance of the game. Another thing that we noticed is, well, I did not play much on the Drina. Okay,
Okay.
I think, I don't know, was it distributed over Europe?
It was distributed when Kickstarter was finished. Freezing Meeple and Surfing Meeple and Metagot were our
Okay.
distributors for that. We
Okay.
had a small amount of games in Europe, but I don't think we have any left now.
Yeah. There was okay. It was well, Freezing Inferno, the very stronger distribution, and I'm very happy with that. But
In German is available March of the Drina.
Yes.
You can
oh
order
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
order.
Yeah.
If you
Okay,
want, I
that's
can
fine.
bring you one, Ricardo, when I come.
Thank you. Okay, maybe. I don't think my wife will be as happy as we are now, but okay.
Same
Now,
problem everywhere.
no, same problem. This is a common thing. Also, because Fabio knows that I'm a big fan of the very early stages of World War One. So those, and it is
of
nice
course.
that there are some interesting war games about that very interesting campaign, and also those very early stages of World War One. One thing I saw just from looking at the components of March on the Drina on Board Game Geek is that you had a similar quality for the components, but not just the material, the visual style, okay, the visual interface, the not just the fact that they are nice, colorful components, but the design choices, the graphical and visual choices you made in creating those components and all the systems of the game. Mm. On the CRT, we have not force ratios. We have values for the attacker and the defender. So use this column. That is very nice. Why did you choose that? Was it really another way to introduce new people to the hobby, or was something deeper at work in your choice there?
Well, March of the Drina had a lot of simpler battle mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Freezing Inferno was an upgrade. So basically, we took mechanics from March of the Drina and we just upgraded every part.
Mm-hmm.
We upgraded the terrain. In March of the Drina, there is no terrain effect. It's just a plain hex map. And the only thing you have key is the cities that you have to capture.
Okay.
In Freezing Inferno, we introduced the terrain effect. Also, in March and Drina, you only have a calendar effect, which lasts for a whole round. Here you have a weather effect, a terrain attack modifier. You have everything that a war game should have. And the reason why we used the comment result table, because we wanted to have a wider range of options available to end one particular battle in one hex, because it's in March of the Drina we noticed that after a few rounds it gets really how should I say monotonous.
Mm-hmm.
To play, you only lose a strength retreat. You don't have any other. You didn't have any other option. But now in Freezing Inferno we introduced like 3 or 4 more results. So you even have a counter attack. You can withdraw, but you don't have to withdraw. You lose. You can have a no offensive next turn result. So a lot of different things can happen in one particular battle, and that's why we decided to use combat result table. It was the easiest way to implement it.
Mm-hmm. Fabio, you want to say something about the interface, because I remember that this really struck you when you found out the game set up on my table when you were here.
You're talking about the
The interface,
itself?
yeah,
The interface itself. Yes, I mean the overview that you have about the game is amazing, with all this little bit cartoonish, style of the map, and it's really engaging. It's really you start to look there, all the streets it brings to the cities and so on. It's very nice looking. I mean, probably among the X Encounter, the classical one that I saw, probably is the nicer to look or one of the nicest looks. So well, under that aspect was fantastic. For instead all the mechanics, yes, all the CTR found that good, especially the naunt effect. You know, when you just stop the enemy.
That was brutal. That was brutal for me.
That was brutal.
That was brutal.
Especially because if you are able to pin down the Soviet tanks, and then you try to sneak for stealing them, the Finnish infantry. That's really nice. That's really nice. It's something really that I didn't see in any other X encounter something like that, to just pin down for then stealing. But
I haven't seen it before. Also, this is like something that we were making, like, as I said, we wanted different results of a singular battle, and we were saying like, okay, if the unit is damaged, but it's not, it's like unit is shaken. You know, you can't move, but you haven't lost your strength. You just need a pause to regroup and set your mind and move forward. So that was like one of the options, and we put it in CR3s, and it turned out very good. You know, it's like you didn't lose the battle, but it feels like you did. You know?
Yeah, and the fact that it's realistic that you have to reach your strategic goal before the end of the game. The fact that you are stuck one turn also without losing strength is still a big issues on your timetable. You know, it's like
yeah, because also as the Soviet player, I can tell you, you have quite a strict timetable. There's lots of it. You really manage to give this sense of so much land to go, and also so much different terrain, because there are forests and hills and cities and
a lot of lakes.
Lots of lakes. It's Finland. Come on, it's Finland. And this leads me to the next argument, to the next topic of our chat, that is the Battle of Khalkhin-Gol.
Yes,
that is actually very similar on the, I would say, 70%. 70-80% of the system is actually the same. The idea that you have the strength points, the stacks, and then the strength points of the units, and so on. But that 30% of difference makes lots of difference.
Yes. Well, we tried to implement something new. We always our goal is always to bring something new. And for the Battle of Khalkhin-Gol, there are like 4 main differences between Freezing Inferno and Khalkhin-Gol. Number 1 is the Khalkha River. You don't have that in Freezing Inferno, but here the whole battle was fought around the river, the both sides, and the Soviets and the Japanese were crossing the river, attacking each other. Having the river as one natural obstacle is something to add to complexity of the gameplay. Also, we introduced the building bridges across the river. Both sides can build up to 2 bridges, and that helps to build up replayability, because you can always build bridge on different parts of the board. And depending on your strategy, that combined with the blind and hidden setup, so the opponents don't know where units are, is something that brings more joy to the game, because you can always be surprised. That's one thing. Second thing was having a general with special abilities. We have every general has ability in commanding a certain type of units. One general is for infantry, for tank, artillery, and that is why they bring, we called it protection for the unit while attacking, but it's basically The general will save you from low results on the dice. So if the general has a number 4 as his ability and he's commanding infantry, when you attack with the infantry, every dice roll that is below 4 counts as a 4. So
Hmm.
only one unit of one type has that ability, and if only if it's in the command space of the general or in supply with that
And that
general.
could be infantry or tank or
Yeah, infantry,
artillery.
tank, artillery can three. There are three types of unit that can have this special ability, and it makes the player to take more to be more careful with those type of units,
Hmm.
to save them while the opponent is attacking, but they can be more freely to use them in their attacks because they have. The general's ability not to go under the certain number on a dice roll. That was the second thing that we introduced. The third thing was the air battle and
Yeah,
the
their
air
system.
battle system. Since the battle of at the Khalkhin-Gol was the battlefield was like 50 times 50 kilometers, so it was not a huge area. Using the air units as we did in Freezing Inferno with the range at the airfields would make no sense because aircrafts of that time had much bigger range already, and allowing the airplanes to reach every part of the board in every move was something that we wanted to avoid. So we decided to abstract the air battle system from the gameplay and created it like a mini game before every round. So
Hmm.
you players fight for air superiority, and the player who wins air superiority in that round has three options. The most important options for us is to bomb an enemy supply lines.
Yeah.
In that way, he will reduce the income of their opponent. So if
Hmm.
they have lower income, there will be less resources to bring reinforcements and new units, and eventually you will have your army will be stronger than the opponent's, and you will have an easier victory. The other two options is to bomb the enemy's air base, so to reduce their capacity of holding aircrafts, or you can use as a third option to gain a +1 attack modifier for one battle in one round.
Mm.
Uh,
Very
this
focused
is
an advantage.
something that that was meant to be used when there's like a decisive battle that is waiting for you in some round, and if you have to capture a certain checkpoint or you have to
Mm.
destroy a certain army, you just use the +1 modifier to upgrade your chances to gain that decisive victory. And the fourth thing that we introduced is during the setup, the players can dig in three units. So even though they were hidden setup at the start, they remain hidden until the opponent uh, like stumble upon them, or before you decide to dig them up and use them in the game.
Mm.
So I would
Mm.
say that those four things are new in the Battle of Khalkhin-Gol.
And those things, those different mechanics, gave me the feeling when I made my trial games with the system, that also there are different dynamics than in Freezing Inferno. Because in Freezing Inferno, Fabio will pointed out, terrain is very important. So it is a very varied battle. Each of those fronts looks and feels different. The one about the Mannerheim line works in a way. The other near Lake Ladoga, it is another way altogether, and etc. But what I found out, and I told you also in our private chats, is that the Battles of Khark and Go looks like a great tactical sandbox,
Yes.
because you have both asymmetry in the armies and also in the positions, but something of asymmetry because you have 3 checkpoints on one side and other 3 on the others, and then you have this great enormous plain. Okay, this Mongolia, so it should be
Yeah.
like that. And after you have crossed the bridge, and you have to decide where to cross the bridge, and that is the first experiment that you have to make. And every gaming session, you can experiment with different position and setups. And after that, you create a situation where I, as the Soviet, can push in one direction, but I am defending on another because the Japanese is trying to reach my checkpoint, all in the same turn, and I have to balance all that in this gigantic plane with lots of stuff happening. Am I right? Did this dynamic come up during your testings?
Yes, that was the goal. In Freezing Inferno, you had Soviets pushing forward, you had
Yeah.
Finns defending, and Finns doing the offensive operations was very rare. And now we wanted to, because that was the case in the real war.
Yeah.
Here in the Battle of Khalkhin-Gol, both sides were offensive and defensive in some points of the conflict. So we wanted to implement that in the game. So as you said, you can have Japanese offensive on the north, while the Soviets are offensive in the south. And that is what bring a new element to the game, because both players can play offensive and defensive depending on the strategy of the opponent and their own strategy.
Yeah, I said that while Freezing Inferno was a very specific situation, okay, with one player managing a great offensive or a very wide, too wide front, and you realize that at very first moves. Another is essentially trading space for time. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, giving up space. Fabio and I came to this conclusion, and historically is actually fine because that was the historical situation in the battles of Khalkhin-Gol. I think that this is that even more battles of Khalkhin-Gol could be a war game used in military academies just to teach people how do you want to experiment. Make this is a sandbox, and now you just can try many different approaches, because even if the armies are very asymmetrical, and also with the additional modules, I saw that there are also other symmetries in intelligence and deception and so on. uh, the overall strategic situation really looks like a textbook study on how to, and historical. Everything happened with the first offensive by the Japanese that was thrown back
Yeah.
Yeah.
by the Soviets. They did not expect that, and suddenly they were attacking, and suddenly they were defending those lands that they thought they were quite secure. And I found this very very fascinating, all in a very refreshing system like the one that we experiment with Freezing Inferno. The only thing I see is that it could be a bit difficult for an average player, and but from a strategical point of view, not from a rules complexity point of view,
Yeah.
to really understand how to really exploit the air system, because one of the keys is the air system, and you have this strange mechanism, this strange puzzle, okay, on top of the normal game, or the
Yeah.
usual X and counter game, that you have to manage, because whoever gets to in such a situation, even 1 or 2 units more than the opponent, can really make the difference.
Yes,
And
that was the we wanted we didn't want to leave out the air units, because
Mhm.
they were present at the Battle of Khalkhin-Gol, although the battles were not decisive, and there was like the main fight was on the ground.
Mhm.
But there were air battles at that time. We wanted to create a system that will minimize the impact of luck. The easiest way was to set up some kind of mechanics with rolling a die, but as you said, the impact of the air superiority can be huge in the rounds. Because you only have 8 rounds, and if one player luckily has air superiority in 8 or in 6 or 7 rounds, the other
will
player
dominate.
won't stand the chance. And that's why we wanted to create a system that will reduce the luck to a minimum. And that's why we introduce air battle cards. So gaining air superiority depends solely on the player's choice. So you can use your cards. You can decide which strategy to implement. In would you, if it's important for you to get air superiority in this round because you plan to do this and that, you will push harder in the prelude to the round, and you will win air superiority. But that means that you will be weaker in some rounds after.
In later stages.
So, yes, in later stages. So this is like a balanced, like I believe it's like a 50-50 chances to win air superiority. It really depends what players will choose to do. And that leads to a more realistic ratio of advantages that air superiority will bring to the players.
It is a model that really makes it really represents air attrition. Fabio, you will remember how but on another level, but it is essentially the same dynamic as Freezing Inferno. Fabio, you will remember how I used so much of my air force.
Very careful, yeah.
Yeah, and I really suffered a lot of air attrition and really understood that it is not easy to keep an air force at workable for an entire campaign, because if you use that extensively, you will suffer a lot of air attrition.
Yeah, because you cannot replace your missing airplanes.
They're very costly.
Oh, it's super costly. And if you got unlucky in a couple of strike, like happens to your Air Force, then also your bombers, the bombers has to stay home because, well, they don't have air cover anymore. So, but attrition goes in both ways. So near the end of the game of Freezing Inferno, there was no Air Force in both sides, or very little, that maybe could not be very effective anymore.
Or it was even more effective if you managed to focus that few airplanes that you had in one single strike on one critical point. And the idea that you have, I will say for those who don't know, that in Khalkhin-Gol you have cards that you use to air combat cards that you use to gain air superiority, and you have cards from 0 to 7. I remember 0 to 8,
0 to 8,
0 to 8. But when you can spend a card to fight with your opponents to gain air superiority for that turn. But when you have spent a card, that card is gone. If you spend the 6 card, for example, the card number 6, in the first turn, you will not have that card anymore for the rest of the match, of the play. So you have really to choose when you can go, okay, I go all in at the beginning, and then you lose that in the later stages. All of this on top of the entire air combat system that is quite elaborated. There is a great video about that on the Kickstarter page, a great air combat tutorial that I really advise people to look, both to have a strategic advice on how to use that key component in the battles of Khalkhin-Gol, and also about to appreciate the level of detail, but also of high playability that you went so far with this game, because it is highly playable. After all, is that I play one card, you play one card, a couple of dice, and that's it. But impact on the game is amazing. Okay, now the unavoidable question, Vukasin. Your future projects. Okay, we're still dealing with Khalkhin-Gol. Okay, and that is quite a great enterprise because of very Yeah, Fabio.
Maybe the same system on a campaign in Italy. I mean, I see good for
Or in North
Operation
Africa, why not?
or North Africa. I mean, I see good in Operation Husky, you know,
Yeah.
with this system.
Uh,
Also for
so
introduce the naval part. Nice.
I have to thank to my friend from United States, Matt McKean. He was the one who suggested that we use Winter War as our game, Freezing Inferno, and to use Khalkhin-Gol as our second game. So his advices were very
Very good. Yeah.
very good. Right now, after the Khalkhin-Gol campaign on Kickstarter will finish and the production and everything that goes with it, we are working on, well, I would say a completely new system that will bring like a new level to a fog of war. You probably know double blind setup that was
Yeah.
used like in the 80s. We've created a system that's been upgrading this double blind setup system to a much bigger level. So we are like making the game about that. It will be on tactical level. And I hope that we will have some video done by in 2 or 3 months. So I will let you know among the first one to see to check
Thank
your
you.
opinion. So
That's nice.
that's the goal for the next year, to create this new system and the game that comes along with
In
that.
World War II, possibly in the
World War II will be
Yeah.
it's like my favorite area. So, but the system can be used in various times, eras. I would say Middle Age, antique,
Wow.
everything. It's like a unique one. You will see the video when it's finished, and I think you will love it.
I will say that this being interesting is a huge understatement because
Yeah, I mean, if it's applicable for all these different historical period, can become the next Command and Colors, you know?
Yeah. Or at least a very versatile system that
Yes.
personally I really like versatile system, but you just have to understand the main concepts of the system, then you apply with all the differences.
Well, I always I would say that like we all played some computer games, strategy games, like maybe Age of how do you say it? I forgot.
Age of Empires?
Age of Empires, right?
Yeah.
And you know, when
General,
you are leading one cavalry and the fog just reveals you see you see the
civilization
new
also.
units. This was not possible in board games because you had to know where your opponents move to, and when you know that he's there, the surprise just wasn't there. Well, we created a system that allows that to be played on the table, and we will shoot a video soon. And because I can't explain it in words, it's too complicated for
but
you
it is
to
a new
understand.
concept from what I'm
Yeah.
getting.
I haven't seen that anywhere, and I did a lot of research looking for that.
That's interesting also because brings the reconnaissance variable to the field that usually in the war game is never available. I mean, you find that in Undaunted, but then a lot of
you find that
classical
in
is
Library of
not
Napoleonic Battles with the Vedettes and in the block games, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But block games by Columbia and Worthington and all the others, but not so much and not so. Yeah.
Like here, it was like I wanted to make possible for a unit to just sneak behind the enemy's lines. An enemy can't see it until he comes
until it's too late.
Doesn't even know that they are there. Essentially.
Yes.
Not only that there are enemy units, but they don't.
They don't know
how many.
that. And this system allows that to be to be genuine and to be legal. Not you will have to.
That will be good for Pacific War battles, for example, with Japanese infiltration tactics.
Yes. So we'll talk soon about that.
Yeah. We get it.
You already feel the sniper behind you, you know.
Yeah. You know, me and Fabio showed me the Supernova in the East podcast by then.
Nice one. Nice. Fantastic top.
Yeah. There were so many hours of speaking about the Pacific War battles, and with regularly with this continuous infiltration by whole battalions of Japanese infantry getting back behind the Allied lines.
The psychological effect of that was very tall on that.
But I think that the players will have that psychological effect as well, because I've seen that even in simpler block games. That I had block games where I advanced with just one block and everybody panicked and sent the entire army against that single block. This is very interesting. It's interesting how many things happen when people think that they are losing control.
Yeah, they usually overreact.
Yeah, they tend to overreact. They tend to have conservative biases, and oh my god, what's going on here? Okay, now for our first segment, and something that me and Fabio were very interested in, is that we played that game with Freezing Inferno. We found that very nice. And then I look, Princeps Games. Yeah, maybe I heard them, but where are they from? From where part of the United States or where they're from? That's Serbia. Oh my God. And this was a nice surprise, a fascinating surprise. Yeah. And when Fabio looked at us, looked at each other and said, oh, wow, they are such publishers in Serbia. The first thing is, wow, this is amazing. Second thing is that we need to know more about wargaming in your country, because it is almost unknown here in Italy. But once again, we are so close, even somewhat culturally, we are very close, and yet it really didn't get that to us. Can you tell us something about your national wargaming community?
Well, as I said before in our private chat, people play board games in Serbia, and board games are like getting back, and they're becoming more and more popular. But war games is a different story. War gamers in Serbia are very rare to find. When we play tested Freezing Inferno and Khalkhin-Gol, we only managed to find like 10, 12 people who were willing to try and play that. And people play war games, but not of this type. They usually prefer miniatures and a dice rolling system that will be easier to resolve. It takes a little less time than
maybe fantasy war games too. Yeah,
yes, fantasy is always popular, and but like this type of hexa-counter war games, very few people in Serbia play, and luckily I think we know almost all of them. So we have
a very tight community. I mean, it's nice that everybody knows everyone.
I can invite them all in my home, and it won't get crowded.
But it's nice. It's nice.
Yes, and I've watched that on Facebook and on social media. You have I think you have a war game convention in Italy. Yes, I talked to a friend from Poland. Actually, he was doing the cover of both of our games, the Taktika and Strategia.
Wojciech Zaleski.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
he's half Italian by now because he's always here.
Yeah,
We're very
he
happy
sent
to.
me pictures from Italian coast, drinking
Yeah.
some cocktails. I was like, oh my god, I'm here. I want to be there.
Fantastic guy.
So we hope that one day we'll be able to come to one of the conventions, and
Whenever you want.
yes,
Yeah.
that will be good. But as I said, for now, the war game community in Serbia, I think that's I should say it's growing, especially because our first war game, March on the Drina, was is very popular in Serbia, and since it has like that patriotic narrative, people are buying the game and playing it with their kids. It's easy to play. That's why we made it so simple, so we can bring new people to the hobby. And I'm certain that there are like new war gamers growing up right now in Serbia.
Absolutely. And if you manage to publish such quality games, such high impact war games, I will define Freezing Inferno and also the Battles of Khalkhin-Gol. I'm sure that high impact war games, that is not just the nth war game that comes out and when you see that on the shelf or on the table in a convention, people will gather around it because it is very attractive, once again, very high impact. When you manage to create, to publish and distribute those kind of war games, I think that this is a very good thing for your international wargaming community. I'm sure that because I've
Thank you.
seen that in many times. It's for my own personal experience. I've seen that happening in France, with Victis, and also here in Italy at the beginning of the 80s with the international team and other publishers, and even now with our current publishers. So this is the two things are closely related. Fabio, you are the technology guy here, and you wanted to make some questions about social media and their impact.
Yes, but before going on that, I would like
Yeah.
to highlight the fact that, as we told before, March of the Drina is also available to libraries, right? You told us, I mean, to libraries and bookstores. I mean, it's something that, I mean, it's even more impressive because in Italy, at Mondadori, you don't see any historical board games.
In general bookstores,
In bookstore, you don't find any historical board games. So the fact that it's available on general public on this kind of places, it's really impressive. It's really...
Yes, we have to thank our brother from Belgrade. He was the one who made contact with this bookstore. It's called Laguna, and it has like a bookstore in over 50 locations in Serbia, and every bookstore has our game in their window exposed, and in hotspots. Recently, we were guests on their stand at the International Book Fair in Belgrade, and we were guests on national television in live broadcast a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the game, and
we don't get that in Italy, I can tell you.
Exactly.
That's because of the team is very, very good for Serbian population. That's like the.
But we don't get that even for our Risorgimento war games as well. I can tell you.
Well, what can I say? We are very happy and proud that we have achieved this, and perhaps we are not even we don't realize that it was a huge thing, not only for us but for a war game community as a whole.
It's great marketing. I mean, I said it's a
great example. It's a great
example because also on the historical point of view, it's good to let you know the important historical events of your nation, and that's. I mean, I can imagine easily that these things can escalate to high schools and on educational level too. I mean,
Yeah,
it was already.
that's the game has, as you know, the game has a calendar which like describes every major event in World War I, from start to the beginning. So when you read that calendar, you know everything you need to know about World War I, and
Hmm.
that's the educational part of the game. So I had the history professors ordering the game, showing it to
Yeah.
their students, because
Absolutely.
that's the easiest way to get students to listen and learn about history. And I am very happy that this is the case. So and very proud that we managed to achieve something like that.
Just like the cards in Freezing Inferno, just they're
Yes,
very nice
Yeah.
historical descriptions. You just have to, and in Khalkhin-Gol as well.
yes,
You just have to read those cards, and you get, okay, on this week this happened, and this week this happened, and there's since the time scale is so compacted that we're not dealing with 5 years of war. We are dealing with possibly less than 5 months of war.
yes.
And so you really get a chronicle, and you get the impact of those news on the table, on the game. You see that on the game. Did you? This was a doubt that, because this is something very often recurring here in Italy. Did you have any trouble and a special difficulty being a non-English or non-French speaking war game publisher in your distribution, in your, and also in the creative process and in the production process? There was a
Well,
language barrier for you.
yes, of course. English, we know English pretty well, but as you know, it takes a certain level of knowing the language in order to
Mhm.
write a rule book as it should be written. We just wrote it like we think it should be written, and there were
Mhm.
like several people who were English teachers, so English professors. They did the proofreading, so we did our best to deliver the rule book on English, and to
Mhm.
be as good as
And
it
it was.
can get. And for the publishing of the game in English, um, to be honest, our main market was United States and Canada,
Mhm. Yes, of
because of
course,
the
of course.
language, and they are like the most consumers of the board games.
Mhm.
And thanks to our partners from United States, Gigamech Games and Bridge Distribution, we managed to complete this whole project and to continue the cooperation in the next project. So we're very thankful that there are people who recognize our work and our passion about war games. And this is something that made things a lot of easier for us. Also, I did a lot of communications with manufacturers, with fulfillment partners, with
Mhm.
reviewers, and everything. Learning as we go. So every year I learned something new, uh, and I can't say that we had some problems.
Mhm.
Everything went pretty much smoothly. Uh, Besides that, there were COVID-19 pandemic and problems with the delivery. We still managed to get everything done, and we delivered every project on time, and there were no delays. So
Mhm.
that is something that we are proud of, and we
It was
always
one of the smoothest Kickstarter I ever pledged. I can tell you.
thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
really, really,
We
really.
here in Serbia, we it's like we have a team of three people: me, my brother, and one friend. who is, by the way, Nenad Mirkovic, and he
Mm-hmm.
creates this beautiful art design that you
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
very much like.
That's great.
That's his work, and three of us is doing this like a hobby. This is
Mm-hmm.
like something that we enjoy and
A
doing in
work
our
of
spare
passion.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we are happy that we managed to achieve a certain kind of result in this board game world.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Also, we were speaking about other Serbian publishers. You mentioned Forsage
Ourselves
Games.
games, yes,
Yeah, that published Age of Dogfights. So one that
yes.
was World War II model incoming. So once again, the idea is that you have a very, very, very tight wargaming community and also wargame publishing community. And once again, Fabio, we just have to thank all those technologies, all those internet or social media that you work on and you constantly tell me about and try to teach me. For, for that, I, I find it fantastic that I'm here in Italy speaking with a friend in Serbia and with another friend in Italian in Berlin, and we are speaking, and this surely has an impact on production. Uh, did that have an impact on you on your production process?
Of course. I say that if there weren't for Facebook, none of this would happen because it allowed me to get access to communities I wanted
Hmm.
to talk to people who can point me in the right directions, who can tell me, give me advice. I will find a lot of people communicating through social networks, social media, much more faster and easier than doing it by email or
Hmm.
not to mention phone calls. Uh, so the whole internet era made this a lot of easier. I can
Mm.
imagine how it would be before, when you want to check if your game prototype is okay. You can't see anything until you get it like 3 months ago, and then you have to repeat everything if it's not good.
And
Now
the cycle goes
you
on and on
just
and
shoot a video, you send it, and I can like check the 90% of
mm,
things just by
hmm.
looking the video and the
I don't
pictures.
like that color. Make it bigger, make it
Yes,
smaller, change
yes,
the
so
graphic.
right.
But
So
did you use also for playtesting? Like, I don't know,
Oh,
Discord for playtesting a virtual mock of the
um,
game, or?
no. We
mm,
made like physical prototypes, and we sent prototypes to every playtesters. We had the Daniel de Jong from the Netherlands who was doing solo mode for Freezing Inferno and Khalkhin-Gol. We sent him a sample of our game and said,
Mhm.
okay, do your magic, make solo rules for the
and
game.
it is.
And he did, and he did good. Then we sent one copy to a friend from Athens, Aris Saravantides, and
Hmm.
he gave us some really good feedback about things we should look upon, things we should change, and that was like info from abroad. And here, as I said, we made like five copies of the game. We sent it to five playtesting teams and get their feedback. So for now, we didn't use online testing.
Okay.
Even though there are tabletop simulators, you have Discord, you have everything. But
Many publishers are doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, we for now we in Serbia it's easier to send a prototype of the game
Okay.
Yeah.
than to play it online. So
Hmm. You
we
don't
use
have to do the module and
Yeah,
share
yeah.
it.
also
We
because
didn't
it's a
have
lot
to.
of time for making the module,
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
we
guess.
didn't
So,
want to waste time for making modules on online platforms. We just it was easier to print out and use the components from Arch the Drina. We had everything ready. You just sent the new map and the rule book, and
it was all fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
this makes sense when you are dealing with the living campaign system, for example. There's a great Discord testing, because it is a worldwide enterprise. There are people all over the world working on those same projects, on tens of projects, so many titles. Probably for a smaller production, smaller and more focused production, the traditional methods are still the best. Well, I want to thank you. It is now where it has been a great chat. It is 1 hour long, so really nice. The last thing, both Fabio and I are deeply engaged in an initiative, which is the Ludo Story Initiative. It is a group for introducing, a Facebook group of introducing new people to the wargaming hobby, and is in general to the historical games hobby in general. We also deal with role-playing games and board games and the historical themed games. It's just playing with history. And we wanted to thank you, because with games like that, with such big boxes, big components, so much historical content, but so attractive, you just made our work a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know that whenever I am invited, we want to take wargaming, we say jokingly, wargaming out of the wargaming convention, not because wargaming conventions are not good. They're fantastic, they're great, we will always be there, but we want to take wargames just down in the middle of a general board gaming convention. And not in a recluse corner, in a dark corner or something. No, just in the middle of it, to let people see how beautiful war games can be.
Thank you.
You try to really manage that.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this nice conversation. I had a lot of fun, and I am glad that you feel this way about our games.
Be sure that we will hear more often, and we will still be promoting your titles, because they are fun, they're nice, they are historically very deep. Fabio, you will agree with me.
Absolutely.
Strategically challenging, because I still have to find a way to break that Mannerheim line. And
next time, Riccardo, next time.
But we will meet at Khalkhin-Gol, so we'll see that. And thank you very much, Vukasin. Thanks to all your friends and to all of our friends in the Serbian community. And since we are so close, we have to see each other sometimes in Serbia, or whenever you want. It's just
I will come to Rome, no problem.
Whenever you want. The Adriatic is such a small sea, more or less. It's almost a lake, so there is not so much distance. And I know that there are beautiful places also in Serbia to visit as well.
Yes, you can be our guest anytime you want.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vukasin.
Thank you.
Grazie a tutti per essere stati qui con noi. Ovviamente questo video rimarrà in differita, quindi anche per chi lo vedrà dopo questo video. Abbiamo avuto Vukasin Nisavic della Princeps Games, ci ha parlato di Freezing Inferno, Battles of Khalkhin-Gol e dei nuovi progetti di questa nuova realtà, della bellissima community di wargamers serbi che sinceramente speriamo tutti, vero Fabio? Speriamo di
assolutamente avremo uno stand in qualche evento qua in Italia, soltanto dedicato.
we will be having a Serbian wargaming community stand here in an Italian convention. I promise that. Okay. And it will be fantastic. Great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Grazie a tutti. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Ciao.
Bye.